welcome back to Inspired Method Marketing, your Edmonton business coach. Today we're going to be talking about stop reading resumes when hiring. My name's Karen, this is my husband Trevor.
Hi.
And we're going to just give you some insight into why we would say that. Stop reading resumes when hiring. Jocko Willink, who actually wrote an amazing book, Extreme Ownership, and a few others. He's a retired Silver Star Navy SEAL officer, that's a long title, and the founder of Echelon Front Consulting and author of Extreme Ownership. And he says, it's not what you preach, it's what you tolerate.
Yep, that's a very good quote. So what's a stat we have for today, Care?
According to Hire Right's 2017 Employment Screening Benchmark Report, 85% of employers caught applicants fibbing on their resumes or applications, up from 66% 5 years ago. Wow.
Yeah, you heard that right, folks.
That's a lot. That's almost 100%.
Yep, 85% of people lie on their resume. So it's pretty self-explanatory as to why we have that title, Stop Reading Resumes When Doing the Hiring. Now, a lot of people, when you're starting a business, you are taught that, you have to put out your job application out there or your request for new employees, and you look at their resumes, you bring them in for an interview, and you go through that whole process over and over again to try and find a person. Well, that is a failing recipe, and today we're going to share you some
Yeah,
ideas.
actually thinking about teaching, when we're interviewed as a teacher, because that's my background, the resume means almost nothing in that interview. It only tells them, a snapshot, and then it's the actual interview that gets you hired. And they never really go off the resume. It's just much more intense than that, and that's really how you should treat it. So, first question, how often will people not show up or show up late to a job interview?
Very high numbers. Very high numbers. Most people will not show up, or they'll just be late to the interview, and that's a big waste of time for you. Can you imagine if you've taken the time to schedule a time to interview people, you set it up in the calendar, you have this person coming in, and then they just don't show up. They're a no-show, they don't call, they don't text in. Why? Because they had something else to do. They maybe went to another job interview, or they got a job. One of those two scenarios happened, and they don't bother telling you. Why would they? Unless they have high character and high morals, and they don't want to offend. If they're raised right, they're going to show up, or at least give you a call saying they're not going to come.
They don't want to burn bridges or something.
But typically that is not the case. Most people aren't going to show up, and they'll be late to the interview. So,
how long will it take to deem an employee not hireable during an interview?
Well, usually you can find out within the first couple of minutes whether they're hireable or not.
Wow.
Because the simple questions as to why you want to work here, they'll come up with some kind of story that is really about themselves, about them, and you can tell right away if someone's going to be a good fit or not, depending on that interview. So you could be wasting a lot of time just in that alone. So you've scheduled this time, you've got a block of time set apart for somebody, and within the first few seconds, and really the amount of questions that you ask in the interview is not going to get you better applicants.
How much time is wasted reading resumes or on the phone with applicants?
Hours and hours of time entrepreneurs spend, or HR departments spend, talking to people, trying to schedule the interviews, reading the resumes. Even if you spend 2 minutes reading a resume and you have 50 resumes to go through, you've spent 100 minutes or more just reading resumes, and it's just such a waste of time.
Yep. How much time is wasted giving the same company overview to each applicant?
Well, if you do the one by one, then you can be spending, say it takes you 10 minutes to give your company overview. Each time it's 10 minutes. So if you're interviewing 5 people in a day and you're doing that, that's 50 minutes of your life and time gone, plus the interview time. So you can be spending, up to a month of time, if you add it up over a year, just interviewing the wrong people. So
this next question is actually interesting to me. Are most people underestimating the number of candidates they need to see?
Yeah, they do. It's a numbers game. So out of every 100 people, you might find that one great team member. So can you imagine how much time it would take to interview 100 people? So that's 100 applicants coming in, 100 resumes to read, 100 company overviews to give, 100 sets of interview questions to ask people. Can you imagine how much time that is? That is a massive amount of time just to find the one good person. So yeah, it takes a while.
So what's the solution then to not wasting all that time?
The solution to not wasting all that time is having group interviews, because you get a number of people all together in one room. We don't read resumes before they get here. We only read resumes after we've seen how they act in the group interview and what questions they ask. And then we ask them one question. The one question is, why do you want to work here? Not why do you want to become a business coach, apprentice? Why do you want to work for a marketing company? But why do you want to work here?
Yeah. So when is the first time then again that you read the applicant's resume?
We only read it after
the group interview.
After the group interview. And we don't read everyone's resume. We only, we confer between the two of us who are doing the group interview, and then we judge based on the person's answers. We judge them based on what they have said as to why they wanted to work here, and if they had any questions. And from there, that's how we determine who we're going to call back for a job shadow.
So should you then attempt to verify the skills listed on the resume?
Yeah, absolutely. So we bring them in for a job shadow, and then that's where we do the skills test. So we see if they, number one, are compatible with our team, if they're personable, if they show up on time, if they, are able to, do the things that we need them to do. We do that during the job shadowing day. And then if it works out from there, then we know we can rely on calling that person when a position opens up. We don't offer a position to someone just because they came for a shadow. It all depends on the opportunity. We hire when it's good for us, right? Because employees will leave you when it's good for them.
What's more important, skill or coachability and the ability to overcome adversity?
Well, right now, when you're bringing somebody on, if you hire for skill, then you're going to be hiring someone at the highest possible rate of pay. If you hire for skill, right? What you're looking for is someone who is coachable and able to overcome adversity, have a high adversity quotient. So when things go not exactly their way, let's say they had some trouble in traffic, or there's a lot of pressure from a client at the office, how they deal with that scenario is more valuable than someone who has high levels of skill and low adversity quotient. Because then as soon as something goes awry, then they have a sick day, or they take a mental health day or a stress leave or whatever. And then you're kind of hog-tied because you need them for their skill and their attitude is just not fitting for your company culture. So it's best to have somebody who's coachable, who can learn the skills that you need them to learn, and be very resilient. Yeah.
What's more important, education or a commitment to lifelong learning?
Well, for me, a lot of people, they go to school and they get their degree, or they get their diploma, or they get their trade certificate, whatever. Then they stop learning. They stop growing. They stop, getting better. I think it's better to have a commitment to lifelong learning and always growing, always reading, always, finding out new information about their trade, finding new information about that particular skill set that they need. So that they're always improving, right? You can't just stop learning. If you stop learning, you stop growing, you might as well just stop, in my opinion.
So are these attributes rarely ever communicated on a resume?
No, these things are not talked about on resumes. Most people talk about their education. They talk about when they worked at, the Tasty Freeze or McDonald's or whatever, they list their, job skills. They try and put their best foot forward. And then again, 85% of people lie on their resumes, so you can't really trust it. That's why we bring them in for the job shadow. We do the group interview process, and it's, we get the best of the best. out of that because we just simply see more people.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us here on YouTube, Inspired Method Marketing, your Edmonton business coach. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you on the next one.